Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We are presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got good friend of the program, Dieter Kurtenbach, on because, well, mostly I can't imagine anyone I would rather talk about this Philadelphia 76ers bullshit with than Dieter. So how's it going before we get into this madness?
I'm in no way surprised. In fact, I am slightly honored to be your number one choice for bullshit topics, but I'm doing great. This Colangelo situation has totally engulfed my life, which, you know, with the NBA Finals starting, tomorrow, I thought that would probably be priority number one. No, priority number one is staying on the timeline, seeing what's going on with the Sixers this minute, and laughing hysterically.
Yeah, so I literally texted Dieter at like 8:30 or whatever last night and was like, so we're podcasting tomorrow, right? Like this is happening. And he was like, yes, this has to happen now.
It's so stupid.
It's really, really dumb. It's really dumb. So let's get into it. Before then, though, we are sponsored by Simple Contacts. Use that promo code Game Theory to get $30 off of your first order from Simple Contacts. Oh boy. The Ringer publishes a story last night. I think it was around was it 5 o'clock our time?
Yeah,
maybe?
That seems about right. Yeah.
6 o'clock our time.
Yeah.
And what the story is that Bryan Colangelo, apparently, according to the implication of this article, so this is all allegedly, has been operating multiple Twitter accounts and kind of talking shit about the 76ers behind their backs. And it's very unclear on all of this how much to believe, how much into the weeds to get, how ridiculous it all is. When you see that is the headline, though, like the curious case of Bryan Colangelo and the 5 Twitter accounts or whatever it is. What is your first reaction?
This is going to be good, is my first reaction. My takeaway once I finished, I guess, reading it was, holy crap, this needed an editor. And I cannot believe in any way that the Ringer published this. Not
for what it's worth, that was my initial reaction too, but continue.
It's not slanderous or anything like that. I don't think it's libelous. But man, like you go through it, it's a fairly strong thesis, which is egg avatar source comes at someone at the Ringer and says, hey, there's 5 Twitter accounts that all seem to be tweeting more or less the same thing, that seem to have inside information from the Sixers, and who follow accounts that give a pretty good indication that it's Bryan Colangelo. That's the starting point off of an AI algorithm or AI program to figure out, similarities and stuff, by the way. So take that into account. And then, as it goes further down, it's essentially they reached out to the 76ers. The 76ers got Colangelo to admit that he had, in fact, one burner account, but the other 4 he didn't know about.
And let's be clear on this, too. The burner account that he has is the one that is, by far the most benign. It doesn't 100%. Tweet. It doesn't, do anything.
But as soon as that, contact was made between the Ringer and the 76ers, and that information was relayed apparently directly to Bryan Colangelo, all of the other accounts went offline. They still exist, but they've stopped tweeting. There's no longer any there's no updates from Eric Jr., if you will. It's a total mess. It's something that will absolutely, I have a hard time imagining, unless Bryan Colangelo can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that those accounts aren't his, will lose him his job. Flat out. There's no way the 76ers can continue to be associated, because you said he's kind of talking shit. No, he is straight up talking shit on Joel Embiid, on giving out, prompting beat writers with, kind of taunts on like, why don't you ask Jahlil Okafor why he failed his physical? Stuff that the Sixers didn't want to get out, but I guess Bryan Colangelo did. He has the ability to leak stuff through, phone calls and text messages, but he had to do it through a Twitter account.
He's like talking shit about Sam Hinkie and Masai Ujiri.
Talking a lot of shit on both. Now, there is a theory out there that it's not Bryan Colangelo, but it's Jerry Colangelo. Have you heard this one yet?
Yeah, I kind of thought about it last night. I think it would be really funny.
It would be really funny. That's the only... if it is, in fact, Bryan, that is really the only way he saves his job, is if he has his dad fall on the sword. I mean, honestly, because the amount of shit that was talked is so... you just can't be associated with... You can't have that guy in charge of your basketball operations anymore. Period. Point blank. And the funny thing is, you and I both know of multiple burner accounts that NBA executives and coaches use to keep tabs on things.
It's a thing. They're not... A lot of executives don't straight up tweet, but they do have burner accounts, and they don't use them. They're fully aware. Yeah, and they don't use them to talk shit about their own players. They don't use them to, do everything that these accounts were doing, but they have them. Right. It is what it is.
And that's the separation point. Not only did I guess, and again, it's allegedly, and it's kind of hard to be honest that Colangelo, either Jerry or Bryan, isn't in charge of it, given some of the peculiarities of who they followed and what they tweeted about.
Let's kind of run through that real quick. Yeah. The thing that kind of started this all is the anonymous tipster, and the source is an identity still unknown person who contacted Ben Detrick, who, let's be clear, Ben did very good investigative work on this.
No, 100%.
My qualms with publishing this have nothing to do with Ben, because I find Ben's work here very, very interesting. It's more from the Ringer side of it than from Ben's side. But he gets contacted saying that they worked in artificial intelligence, and after noting a bunch of weird tweets directed at Sixers writers, used an open source analysis tool to link 5 accounts through commonalities, including similarities in who the accounts followed and linguistic quirks.
Sam, I got to interrupt you here real fast. Worldwide Wob literally just found the account that tweeted at Ben Detrick. It's called Sixers Enough. Ben, loving your Sixers content. Can you follow me back so I can send you a DM about an article about 100 or so days ago? He follows 2 people, Chris Ryan and Ben Detrick.
Oh my God. I can't. So thank you, Wob. I appreciate you so much. So much. Got to be honest. I tuned in for Wob's Periscope real quick last night.
Oh yeah. I, as a longtime follower and admirer of the one and only Wob, those Periscopes are like the 4th layer of hell when it comes to depravity. It's a lot. It's good for some folks, but it is. You are way down the wormhole there. So.
Shout out to Rob Perez. Good God. So according to this source's findings, the 3, some of the shared attributes were weird. They had a distaste for beards and unknown sources. According to this person's findings, who we can apparently call enough Sixers now, roughly half of their total respective follows with 3 accounts, right? The 3 newest accounts. And apparently the 3 newest accounts are the 3 very very ones. Problematic ones, I guess. Yeah. That's they all just had so many random commonalities. They had 75 accounts in common that they followed and all of this stuff. Half of their follows were the same, and then a lot of them had connections to the University of Chicago, which is where Bryan Colangelo's son plays basketball, and a lot of them just seemed to be connected to all of the different parts of Colangelo's life. And did you try and explain this to Heather last night? A
little bit.
Yeah.
How did it go with Laura? Because it's a little bit. I thought the way I summed it up was actually A-okay, but it doesn't even get into a tenth of the craziness, which is essentially the Sixers, president of basketball operations, was allegedly running burner accounts that followed a bunch of things that would essentially give him away if anyone put the pieces together, and he was talking a bunch of shit on Joel Embiid. That's how I explained it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I did. And Laura was on her hands, sitting down, listening, and was arched forward and was excited to hear what I was going to say next. And also was what world do you live in?
This is the stupidest and best league ever.
What is happening in life right now that this is a thing? And I don't know. I mean, this is all very strange. And then there was a guy on Barstool Radio today who called in who said that he took Hinky's class this summer and or this fall or something like that, this spring, who the hell knows?
At Stanford?
It's Stanford. And said that I guess Hinkie had been talking about artificial intelligence and how you can do all of this open source stuff to gain insights on Twitter accounts.
I knew it was him. So as soon as I read AI, and everyone pieced this together almost instantaneously, but I turned off my Twitter just to read the article so that I could focus for a minute, which was difficult to do because, again, holy crap, what a hodgepodge. But as soon as it goes artificial intelligence, I go, wasn't that what Sam Hinkie did? Yeah,
to me, I feel I don't even know. I don't even know what to think of this. It's so ridiculous. It is so insane to me that this is a thing that is happening in the NBA right now.
I think we can say this definitively. Unless Bryan Colangelo can come up with one hell of an alibi, he's gone.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I have no concept of how you can maintain a relationship with this guy as the face. I mean, this is his now defining moment. I know that sounds ridiculous, and probably there's a ton of recency bias. I'm not going to lie about that. But let me put it to you this way: when they said Bryan Colangelo was running 5 burner Twitter accounts allegedly, I thought, what I know about Bryan Colangelo, yeah, that doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. I don't know a lot about Bryan Colangelo, I'll be totally honest, but what I did know is that he's kind of sensitive about stuff, and that he comes back with a lot of bite. And it's all of these seem to be right along the lines of what Bryan Colangelo would do if he was, in fact, running 5 burner Twitter accounts. Or I guess 3 of them which are problematic, and then 2 other ones.
Yeah, I just don't know. I keep looking at this, and I don't think that we have enough evidence yet that it's Colangelo. So, the account that is tied to Colangelo, the Phila 1234567 account or whatever, you can go and hit reset password, and it comes up and says BPC, bunch of stars at s dot com or something like that. Yeah. So and it says that the phone number associated with count is ending in 75, which according to Tom Moore at Philadelphia, that actually matches up with what Colangelo's number is. So
Jesus, I didn't know about that. That's fucking ridiculous.
So the account that he says is his matches up with his. The problem is, and I'm not sitting here saying that he can't just have a second cell phone or something like that, because I would almost guarantee that he has a second cell phone.
It'd be weird if he didn't.
Yeah, just a work phone, a whatever phone, everything like that. I would. The 3 accounts that are most incendiary, I guess we could say,
that's the right word,
have all 3 of them have a phone number ending in 91.
Okay.
So they're all 3 in all likelihood connected to the same person. But that number does not match up with Colangelo. And again,
as far as we know,
might just have a different number. Who the hell knows? But I am skeptical still, even after reading all of this, based off of what is in this report, which again, incredible investigative work, and I appreciate Ben Detrick so much for it.
Right.
I'm very skeptical.
These are the important things that we need to be on, but yeah, no, it's good shit, no doubt.
I am skeptical still that this is Bryan Colangelo tweeting. That doesn't make it right, because even so, there are very real things in these stories or in these tweets that, like, I've been told have happened from, like, NBA folks that, like, work in the industry.
Like the Okafor thing, or the Nerlens Noel thing is, like, that's been well known. I'm shocked that even came across as like, oh, I can't believe people thought that Nerlens Noel was like a selfish little asshole. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of his thing. Like, everyone knows that.
Yeah, like the one thing that I didn't know was, like, that Okafor failed a physical.
I did not know that
for
either.
A team. And, like, that seems like a very problematic thing, first and foremost, to leak, because
yeah.
Medical reports getting leaked are not good.
It doesn't usually work out all that well.
Doesn't usually work out that well. And then second, it's like the reason I'm a little bit hesitant on thinking this is Colangelo still is that it just seems like so much work to put in.
For sure.
And, like, Bryan Colangelo, not the best general manager in the world. I think we can agree with that. Yeah. But, like, incredibly busy as a human being in general. Like, has kids, has a job that is incredibly high-powered. I am very skeptical that he was running 5 Twitter accounts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The Jerry Colangelo thing really kind of messes it up. Though the thought of a 78-year-old man running, like, an incendiary Twitter account, or a couple, is even more funny to me. You're right. Like, it's implausible. And the implausibility of it all is what makes it so ridiculous. Because right now we've essentially gone from a state of there's no way that, like, you would never expect something like that to, well, now he's got to prove that it isn't him, because it looks like very possible that it is, and the allegation has been levied. So I would like to think that it's not. But again, the burden of proof is now on him. I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's the way it is. And this is what he's going to be associated with for a long time. I just think that the funny part is who leaked it, and how we can't prove that's not Sam Hinkie.
Yeah, like, I've been trying to figure out what I think the funniest outcome for this story is. I think that it's probably that there is some sort of, like, Hinkie loyalist rebellion happening within the 76ers organization, and that, like, they're all framing Colangelo and then tweeted at Ben Detrick because they know that Ben is very, very much a Bryan Colangelo hater and would love to do something like this.
Right.
It's very, very funny to me if that is what's happening, because they fired Sam Hinkie and, like, forced Sam Hinkie out, and he ended up resigning with the massive letter and everything. In large part because they were worried that the organization itself was becoming a laughingstock.
Right. For this to happen, where I'm literally laughing.
What does that say now about what happened here? What are we thinking here, other owners? How much of a laughingstock have you created now that Bryan Colangelo may or may not have been running multiple Twitter accounts to talk shit about his own players?
Well, first off, I think we should establish that these Twitter accounts were firmly created so that he could defend the size of his collars online and defend his honor.
I forgot about that. It's so amazing.
That's the thing that sort of gives it away the most. Like, it's a normal sized collar, and it's like, no, it isn't. Like, either you have an abnormally sized neck or it's not a normal sized collar. It's so stupid. No, the laughingstock thing is valid. I'm not going to get into the whole Hinkie versus everybody thing like that. I think that the burner accounts do have a point. Like, that shit gets blown out of proportion. He's become this martyr figure. Hinkie definitely plays into that through both silence and appropriate leaks. Like, the Sixers were never not going to be a mess. So if Bryan Colangelo leaned into this as much as perhaps he did, that is a huge issue. And again, just knowing what I've known about Bryan Colangelo, like, it doesn't shock me if this is in fact the case. Like, it shocks me in the sense of someone could be this stupid and brazen and all that stuff, but, like, not that out of character. He would be high on the list of, if I had to put together the hypothetical list of guys who would be sensitive enough to where they would, do something like this, he'd be up there. Not saying he'd be number one, but he'd be up there. Yeah. And this is why I ultimately think, I don't know how you can maintain this. The burden of proof is on him.
Yeah.
I don't, there's plenty of plausible deniability, but that's not proof. I don't know how I honestly, right now, just looking at the scenario as we talk, unless new exonerating information comes out, I don't know how the Sixers can continue to be associated with him.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty significant question, just from the laughingstock perspective.
100%.
You know what I mean? Just from the perspective.
It's bad business. It's bad business being associated with this guy because he can't exonerate himself yet.
Yeah, he needs to be able to prove. And the funniest thing is, he's out here in LA, supposedly, supposed to be watching draft prospects, right?
No, it's not happening anymore.
I don't know. I mean, he probably needs to be there still, given the fact that the Sixers have number 10 and they have number.
No, I think he's going to stay in LA. I'm just saying that most of his time isn't spent watching draft prospects, or at least his mind isn't going to be 100% right.
Yeah. So I don't know what to think of any of that, but the fact that the Sixers had to make a statement today saying that.
So tersely worded too.
Yeah, we have to do an investigation into if our general manager was operating multiple Twitter accounts is just amazing on so many levels. It's perfect.
I love the Shams and Woj tweets off of all of this because NBA Twitter was ablaze last night, and I'm not a big fan of these hive think Twitter groups and the Bleacher Report aggregation that comes out where it's Twitter was insane, and it's no, your timeline was insane. The entirety of Twitter was not insane, but Woj and Shams, who both do obviously exemplary work, trying to get in while staying out, and the whole thing, knowing Woj was following one of these accounts. According to what I saw yesterday, don't hold me to that, but apparently Woj was following one of these alleged Bryan Colangelo burner accounts. Maybe it was Woj all along, but it's so maybe he knew. And some of the tiptoeing around the issue where they're not saying that he didn't do it, but they're definitely not putting the blame all on him is incredible. Just oh my god. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. The Woj thing was great. The Shams report was great, where it's just it's really hard to believe him, but Bryan Colangelo has always been a straight shooter with me. It's geez, man. How much did Colangelo have to essentially pay? How many IOUs did he have to hand out to those guys to have them defend his honor online? It kind of shows also the underbelly of the Scoops ecosystem. Yeah,
I don't really care about that. Do whatever you got to do, guys. I get
it. I just found it hilarious.
Yeah, it was interesting to me that they were able to get him so quickly.
Oh yeah, no. Apparently, he's been on the attack. 76ers president Bryan Colangelo has been actively reaching out to individuals mentioned in those burner accounts, insisting that he isn't responsible for those tweets. League sources tell ESPN.
Yeah.
Sixers probe is underway. The Sixers probe being underway, that might, we'll find out. We're not great with patience, let's be honest. And maybe, someone can probably prove if it was or if it wasn't him. And I'm just curious to find out if it was him, if the Sixers will throw him under the bus entirely, or if they'll figure out some backdoor way to make it look like it wasn't him, but sort of tacitly admit that it was.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for people who work in that organization right now.
Oh yeah, there's there's going to be a lot of audits,
because you almost have to get rid of everyone now. Unless Colangelo just straight up admits it was him, you almost have to get rid of everyone, which they got
to drain the swamp.
Yeah, which is kind of a problem, I think.
Might be problematic. Though that said, they should have. This is the thing. I did a bunch of radio hits last night, and it's they're what are you thinking? I'm man, this of course this happens to the Sixers. Like, it's a dysfunctional franchise.
Are the Sixers the first, like, modern social media basketball team?
Oh, man. They're the most 2018 basketball team for sure.
Yeah. Like, I feel like they are the first, like, they might be the first team ripped apart by social media.
Oh, yeah. That we know of. But yeah. Yeah, they're very much living in this moment in time. The one guy was like just thinking that there's Colangelo would put his reputation on the line. Like, no one in position would ever be dumb. And it's like, the president of the United States is. I'm pretty sure that has been broken forever. Of like, there's no way the president could tweet out something about Roseanne Barr. Nope.
See, but like thing there is,
yesterday was a ridiculous day.
The thing there is, though, is that I do think that they're markedly different.
Oh, no, 100%. I'm not trying. Yeah, Lord knows I've made enough mistakes in conflating things with Donald Trump, but like, it's still very much. It's funny because obviously, you know, when you or I, like, we say a lot of, probably myself more than you, say a lot of incendiary stuff, but like, it's attached to our names. We get our,
that's the thing.
The phrase, and we get all the, when we fuck up, we get blasted, and like, that's fair. Like, there's nothing that's not Dieter Kurtenbach, there's nothing that's not Sam Vecini, and like, that's the case for the vast 99 point. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of people with fake accounts and stuff that, you know, are hiding behind dog avatars, but like, for the majority of us in the media and those of a certain stature in the ecosystem of sports, like, your name matters, and there's a verifiability to all of it, a veracity to it that's important. It is a fair question as to why Bryan Colangelo would even allegedly do something like this. Like, what could he possibly benefit from it? And that's kind of the question that maybe really needs to be wrestled with, as opposed to what happens next. Like, why would someone even, if this is in fact the case, why would someone feel so emboldened as to do this? Like, what a stupid way to lose your job.
Yeah, I think that the motive aspect is the big thing for me. Like,
right.
That keeps holding me back from just going, oh yeah, this is true.
But like, I don't know if we can like say that that's the thing. Like, oh, it's implausible, henceforth it didn't happen, is not a good answer right now. Not with sort of all of the commonalities and all of the peculiarities of this situation. Like, that's the thing that gets me. Like, and the big thing is Bryan Colangelo or the 76ers have to prove it wasn't Bryan Colangelo. Because just saying there's no way Bryan Colangelo would do that just doesn't hold water with me at all. Because a lot of people do a lot of stupid shit, and Bryan Colangelo is certainly not immune from such scrutiny.
Yeah, and I think that that's 100% true and fair. Like, we really can't just absolutely rule it out because of that. But I guess that maybe this kind of goes back into my hesitancy, like why I would never run this article if I was editing the website. Like, none of this shit would ever hold up in, like, a court of law.
Nope, it would not.
And, like, if you're
0.0%, this would be thrown out.
Yeah, and if you're gonna, like, kind of ruin someone's career,
better be able to hold that shit up.
I struggle with that. Like, I get that journalists aren't held to the same standards as a court of law, right?
Well, I hope.
You know, and I think that journalists don't necessarily need to be held to the same standard as a court of law. But I guess that where I struggle with it is that there isn't enough of the holes filled in that need to be filled in terms of motive, in terms of, you know, dots connecting A to Z. Because even after this story is published, you know, you have people taking all of these different angles to try and figure out what's going on, right? To try and figure
100%.
out what is happening here. And trying to figure out, like, okay, are these accounts connected by phone number? Like, why isn't that in the story originally? I guess is my question.
Yeah.
Like, why
Good question.
if you're looking at these accounts as in depth as Ben did, and again, I don't mean this derogatorily toward him because I think he did a great job kind of fleshing out the details of it.
He got the ball rolling on this, but it's his editor's job to get the ball stopped somewhere down the line. Like, you have to come in with a full, clear thesis, and they just the natural look of how the story read, if you could even say it read, like, there's not a clear thesis. It's just this sort of speculative thing. And while
it read like a Reddit theory,
1000% yes. God, I'm so jealous I didn't think of that. That is absolutely what happened. It was some guy on Reddit. And, like, I get it. Maybe that's the audience. But it's pretty inflammatory shit. Like, you can't – you got to hold it up to a higher standard. Maybe this is as far as they could get it. And, again, it's the Ringer. It's not like we're dealing with, well, I don't know. I don't know whose reputation is beyond
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know
now.
that we're at the stage where any journalistic enterprise is beyond reproach. But
like, okay, you look at like the clearest corollary to this is the Manti Te'o situation, right?
Yes.
And
maybe. Kind of. Go ahead.
So you wonder, okay, why? What was the incentive on that? And this is kind of where it breaks down because, of course, it's not that correlated. You're not getting catfish. There's nothing like that going on. This is a kind of a one-man show, theoretically. Mm-hmm. But there really wasn't that great of a motive in that one either, right? Like, whatever the guy with the high-pitched voice was doing, like, what was his motive? Like, he was just fucking around. And that's sort of at the core of social media in general. It's just people fucking around. Like, there's no motive to it. There's no logical reason. Like, unless you work in this business, like you or I, like, there's no actual merit to doing it. The never tweet crowd has never had a better day. And I think ultimately I can't get over that fact. Like, why would Bryan Colangelo do this if he did allegedly do, if he did do this? Like, I don't know, he's just fucking around. He wanted to vent. He wanted to say this shit because he couldn't say it in other areas, and so he said it, and I guess he felt better. Like, that's sort of Twitter in a nutshell. For those who don't have to use it in a professional capacity, and clearly he wasn't with because he didn't attach this shit to his name. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't take that much of a mental leap for me to just get to the point where this guy could do it. At the same time, why he would feel this way, whether benevolent or totally benign, is that's the interesting shit.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know where to go.
No one knows. No one knows.
This is something we will certainly keep talking about and keep making jokes about throughout the course of the next week and a half as this continues to work out. Does Bryan Colangelo have a job within the next 36 hours?
Those are the critical hours. I'm going to say no, but I would not put money on it because I would have asked him to take a leave this morning.
Yeah.
I would have said, we're investigating this, and we're asking Bryan to go away for a little bit while we figure this shit out.
I think he does still have a job
that's how
36 hours. I think he still.
Do you think that's because he's exonerated?
No, I think that they're going to have to do their due diligence, and I think that if they can, I don't even know, like, if you have to prove it that it's not him. Maybe you do. I don't know. Like, does he have to prove that it's not him, or is the burden of evidence on the Ringer and on other people to prove it is him in this stage? That's where I'm struggling with it.
I think it's now on not him because the Ringer put out a lot of accusations. I mean, this is what they really are. They're accusations, and it's a lot of accusations, and
with some like connective tissue of evidence as opposed to like very solid evidence. Because
this isn't a crime, I think that it's on Bryan Colangelo to prove that this shit isn't true, honestly. Because ultimately, if it was a total joke or a laughingstock, they would immediately say this is not true, and we're not even approaching it. Right? It's just something that someone has alleged. If it was a Reddit thread, they wouldn't have sent out a statement. Kind of was a Reddit thread that was on an online publication or whatever, but they sent out a statement. So clearly the burden of proof now lies on Bryan Colangelo. And it should be fairly easy for him to prove that it wasn't him if it wasn't him. I mean, unless he is a very scrupulous deleter of cookies and things like that. Like, just if someone alleged this against me, let's say, right? If someone's like, you've been running a fake account, I'd be like, go ahead. You can just check. There's nothing on my phone. There's nothing in my browser history or anything like that's going to link me to this whatsoever. Like, you can have everything. I mean, there might be some, it's like, whoa, what were you doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? There might be some of that stuff, but like, that's stuff that isn't going to tie me to anything. Like that's the thing. Like, I feel like this is a fairly easy thing in some ways. You can at least create enough. You can create a tremendous amount of plausible deniability that it wasn't you. It's a lot harder to prove that it is, which clearly is the case with the Ringer thing. But like, he just has to go out, and the Sixers he has to provide enough information that the Sixers can put out a statement that says it wasn't him.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, he should be able to do that if like he wants to hand over all of his browser history and like cookies and everything that.
I think you start with the phone number, like you said earlier.
Yeah. You start there and then you kind of backtrack a little bit. I don't even know how to move on to basketball after this.
Well, okay. Who's running the LeBron James account right now? No.
Oh, man. Sponsor the show, Simple Contacts. Simple Contacts is the most convenient way to renew your contact lens prescription and reorder your brand of contacts from anywhere in minutes. It's vision care for the 21st century. If you need to renew your prescription, you just take a 5-minute vision test from your phone or computer. It's reviewed by a licensed doctor, and you receive a renewed prescription and reorder your contacts. All you need is your current contacts, and internet connection, and 10 feet of space. Why is Simple Contacts so awesome? It's convenient. There are a million things demanding your time. Contact lenses should not be one of them. They're fast, reliable, and they offer choice. It is a 5-star experience, noted by the fact that Simple Contacts has been rated 5 stars over 3,000 times on the App Store. They're great for summer, and they're going to save you money too, because the vision test is only $20. If you compare that with an appointment without insurance, it can cost over $200. So contact lens prices that are unbeatable. Standard shipping is free, and the best of all, we are offering a promotion to our listeners. Go to simplecontacts.com/gametheory, GAMETHEORY, and you will get a $30 off of your contact order. Again, that's simplecontacts.com/GAMETHEORY, and that's going to be $30 off of your order. Look, this isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. You got to go to that doctor. They only test that the current prescription still helps you see 20/20, and if you renew that prescription, it's going to be a lot easier for you. I just went through this process with Simple Contacts. It is great. It's fast. It's easy, and I can't recommend it enough. Go to simplecontacts.com/gametheory and get that $30 off now. Yeah, I guess we can talk about the finals.
LeBron has a burner?
Oh, for sure. I think
LeBron has like multiple burners, I bet.
I don't know if he has multiple, but I bet he has burners.
Someone asked me, does Adam Silver need to step in on this? And I'm like, Adam Silver's the last guy who should be stepping in on burner accounts.
Oh, God, yeah. Shout out Milton Point.
Yeah.
I guess that my stance on the Adam Silver part of this is that Silver needs to just kind of let it play out and let the Sixers
100%.
handle it first. Anyway.
Okay, let's talk about these finals.
Let's talk about the finals real quick. They're honestly not that interesting to me. Like, the Warriors are going to win like 5.
I think 5 is the fair assessment. Ultimately, it comes down to Kevin Durant versus LeBron James. How close to LeBron James Kevin Durant can play, and then essentially the rest of the roster is a massive. If you look at the other 7 guys, it's just a massive Golden State advantage. At the same time, Andre Iguodala's knee injury, bone bruise, whatever, does loom large in this series because he is the best defender against LeBron James that the Warriors have. They still have other capable defenders for sure, and they're going to throw a bunch of different looks at him. It was never going to be just Iguodala. But, the Cavs have been successful in the past, much different teams, of course, but successful in the past when Andre Iguodala was not on the court for the Warriors. There's a reason the guy won the 2015 NBA Finals MVP. And so, You lose game one, the series gets game one kind of will determine the series, as it usually does in many ways. If the Warriors come out with their complete lack of focus, as they are so wont to do this season, if they really do look like they miss Andre Iguodala, and if the Cavs play close to a perfect game, there's plenty of reason to think that the Cavs can steal one, and if they steal one, they can take two, and if they take two, then you got a series that's dragged out, and anything can happen, as these two teams proved 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you on game one having an incredible amount of importance, but I will say this too. If Kevin Love doesn't play, they're just going to throw Draymond Green and Kevin Durant on him and let them split time on him. Like,
you're talking about LeBron here.
Yeah, and what do you do then? What do you do if...
You forgot about the guy who's going to guard him most, which is Klay Thompson.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, you probably throw Klay on him, too. I mean, you're right.
And that's been their strategy. They just mix stuff up, knowing essentially the Warriors' strategy is the same as it was last year, right? Which is LeBron can get whatever he wants. We're going to throw a bunch of different looks at him. We're going to switch everything, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to make him think, because sometimes he's going to be, here's a possession against Steph Curry. Cool, you're not that efficient of a shooter. So you better drive to the lane. Like, just mix stuff up. Make him think every time he touches the ball. Never let him get into a flow state of just knowing exactly what he's going to do. And if he scores 50 points, so be it. But they're pretty much betting that the other guys aren't going to score another 50 or 60, which is probably what they need.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you there. I guess that the next question is, in what way does anyone other than LeBron James have the ability to keep up with the Warriors offensively?
I think George Hill stands a bit of a chance. He is an upgrade over what the Cavs were doing earlier this season against the Warriors. Like, you can't look at the mid-season tape between the Warriors and the Cavs, because it's obviously a 50% different team. But I think George Hill gives the Cavs a slight chance of defending Steph Curry, and I like him off ball as an option. He's been up and down, of course. He's George Hill, but if he has a big series, that stands a chance. I think they're going to get open looks in general because of the attention that LeBron is going to get, and they can space the floor. If they can go 5 out with a Larry Nance option, they're going to be in good shape. I think they need to just basically copy exactly what the Rockets did, and kind of go back to the 2015 NBA Finals mold, which won them 2 games, which was let LeBron play bully ball, isolate, slow everything down, limit possessions, limit turnovers, right? That's a pretty damn good formula for the NBA Finals, which is already going to be a bit slower. And the Warriors really want to push pace. If you do that with a 5-out system, Draymond Green really can't affect the defensive play as much, which will limit the turnovers inherently, because he'll have to sort of stand on the perimeter, and you get that drive and kick action that when PJ Tucker and Trevor Ariza were right in that Western Conference Finals really did give the Warriors a lot of headaches. At the same time, on the other end, the Warriors showed in the Western Conference Finals that if you are super physical and you switch everything on defense, you can perplex them to a certain degree, and sort of force them out of their rhythm and their momentum, and sort of make them match your isolation from the other end, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for the Cavs. It was certainly a good thing for the Rockets, who had, arguably the best isolation player in the world. Now you have LeBron James, who's the best player in the world, and I feel remiss saying that he's not the best isolation player in the world, but he's just not as efficient, and he doesn't do it as much. So maybe that's the formula, and if you knock down open shots, you stand a chance of hanging with them. I don't think that the Cavs can win a game in this series by a sizable margin at all.
No, they have to slow it down, because the problem is, too, that they have a really poor transition defense. It's just what happens whenever you have to play realistically either one big in Tristan Thompson with LeBron James, along with Kyle Korver and George Hill, who are both old, or you have to play 2 bigs with Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love with LeBron James and George Hill. They're just not going to be good in transition defensively.
I think that they're going to play no bigs. I think that LeBron plays a lot of 5 in this series like he did last year. And the Warriors can match that by playing Kevin Durant at the 5. and that will get Draymond Green some time on the bench. I mean, there's no path where you go, oh, the Cavs can do this. No, any path to victory is bloody and really messy and doesn't feel great at the end, because the Warriors should straight up win this in 4. They should win this in 4. They would have to have a lapse to lose a game. They would have to have a pretty epic lapse to lose 2. To lose 3 is not even something that I can honestly deeply consider without a very serious injury to a Warriors player, a significant Warriors player. And even then, I have a hard time stretching it. And the Cavs winning this series would have to have something sort of monumental happen against the Warriors in the middle of it. And that's not like Draymond Green suspended for a game. That's like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant both get injured. Then we can have a conversation, because this Cavs roster is better than it was earlier this season, but it is a bad team. This is a bad team around LeBron James. And I know that the narrative now is, oh, LeBron did it again, and he beat Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, and 2 20-year-olds, and Al Horford, who is apparently completely incapable of beating LeBron James. That's who he beat. I think that Celtics team is going to be formidable for a very long time. I was very impressed with many of the games they played. That is not a team that was going to give the Warriors any trouble either. And it took 7 games and Herculean efforts for the Cavs to beat them. And the Celtics in many ways beat themselves in Game 7. It is not a fair comparison. So ultimately, I mean, it just comes down to how focused the Warriors want to be. And even if the Cavs have their best game, I have a hard time seeing that beating even a B+ effort from Golden State. That's
kind of where I'm at on it, too. I'm not saying that LeBron can't steal 2 games. I think he can.
We saw it in 2016 or 2015. We saw him steal literally 2 games.
Yeah, and we saw it in 2016 where he stole a series, basically. Him and Kyrie.
Him and Kyrie, and they did that by, one, there was a lot going on with the Warriors, and they got out of sorts. They will throw themselves out of rhythm, out of sorts, all that stuff. I was telling Heather, our girlfriend, about this this morning. When there was a video that showed up this morning of Paul Pierce yelling at LeBron James during Game 7 when the Celtics were up, and it's like, oh, that was a really stupid thing to do because you poked the bear. You did that. I remember in 2016 when Klay Thompson told LeBron James through the media that this is a man's game. And I remember being in that room when Klay Thompson said that and letting out an audible gasp and feeling really unprofessional and stupid about it. But literally thinking at that time, oh, you fucked up. Yeah. You fucked up so bad. Yeah. Because now I immediately thought to myself, fuck, the Cavs are going to win this. And shit, I just wrote a column saying that it was over. Those were the 2 thoughts in my head because I'm a selfish prick. But LeBron can. You don't bet against LeBron James ever under any circumstances. But man, if he does this, it's something completely special, and the Warriors are going to have to help him out a whole bunch.
Yeah, it's not just LeBron. He's going to need help from Golden State and from his teammates. Jeff Green, shout out Jeff Green.
Yeah, here's the, okay. So I like Larry Nance. Larry Nance doesn't help.
No, Larry Nance will get demolished in this series.
Doesn't help at all in this series. Ultimately, here's what I view. LeBron is going to have to guard Kevin Durant at all times because the Cavaliers don't have anyone else who can guard Kevin Durant. Period. Full stop. Not even can put in a good shift and make things tricky. They have no one that they should feel comfortable with touching Kevin Durant on the defensive end in an effort to guard him, except LeBron James. So there's the series right there. If Kevin Durant can even be within 10-15% of the offensive output of LeBron James, it's over, because George Hill might do a decent enough job against Steph Curry, but it's not as if he's going to lock up Steph Curry. J.R. Smith or Rodney Hood or Jordan Clarkson versus Klay Thompson is laughable. Yeah, Draymond Green is totally messed up on the offensive end, but he can certainly, do some stuff against Kevin Love. And if Kevin Love does play, you can never play him at power forward in the series. Like Tristan Thompson should not see the court in the series, period. You have to play him.
I don't agree with that at all.
Oh, I want to hear that.
I mean, think back to 2016. A big part of why the Cavs were successful is that Tristan Thompson was Tristan Thompson of old. He could destroy pick and roll coverages. He could, like, I think that you almost have to play Tristan Thompson in this series and play him on Draymond Green defensively. Okay. And with all of what Dre can do, moving the ball and, playing these pick and rolls, and then, he pops to the elbow and kind of operates from there. And like Tristan is mobile enough to guard that action. Additionally, can be a rim protector. And I think that that's a big thing that the Cavs were missing last year in that series is they gave up a wild number. I forget what the exact number is. It was like 68% or something around the basket. I think the Cavs legit need like very real rim protection.
I don't think that Tristan Thompson necessarily presents it all that well.
But he's their best.
He's their best, which says a lot.
No, I agree with you that says a lot, and like that's a problem in and of itself. But they need their best guy there who can do that, in addition to moving his feet and doing what he can. So,
okay,
I think he has to play. He's played well in the playoffs.
He has, and I don't think less of Tristan. I don't think less of Tristan Thompson because I'm saying this. I think tactically speaking, that's a really stupid thing to do, because ultimately, if Tristan Thompson's on the court, they're just going to stick Draymond Green on him, and that's not good because you allow Draymond Green to be part of the fray when you basically have Tristan Thompson running the pick and roll stuff. You put Draymond Green in the middle of stuff, and if it's LeBron James and Tristan Thompson running high pick and roll with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, they can one, just switch that, which I think the Warriors would feel very comfortable with, and two, if they stick on coverages, like the rim protection or the lob option really isn't there. We saw this time and time again in the Western Conference Finals with Clint Capella. The Rockets stood a chance when Clint Capella was playing well, but the Warriors were able to really take Clint Capella out of the game by just running some pretty simple stuff. And the way that the Rockets, I thought, were most successful in that series was when they had PJ Tucker at the 5, and they went 5 out, and Draymond Green had to make a decision between guarding the perimeter and guarding at the hoop. And when you have an isolation game, there's just no way you stay in front of LeBron James every time. So you need that help defense, and you want that help defense to be the best help defender in the NBA in Draymond Green. And if Draymond Green has to cover 30 feet of ground to provide help defense, that's a positive if you're the Cavaliers. Yeah. That was a positive when you were the Rockets. Beyond that, Tristan Thompson being mobile on the outside, that's nice. That's a positive, but like he's not mobile enough. I don't know who the other option is. I mean, honestly, I think they need to play LeBron at the 5 a lot in this series, or Kevin Love. At least Kevin Love can give you the offensive aspects to sort of negate it. But like, I think this series needs to be played entirely at 5 out. And finally, if you play Tristan Thompson, you allow the Warriors to use some of their center depth. And that is something that the Cavaliers can't do, because one of their big advantages here is if Andre Iguodala is out for the entire series, and right now that has to be the presumption, because he's not, I have a very, very, very hard time believing he's going to play in Game 1, and then who knows from there on out. But like that bone bruise has not gotten any better. He cannot run without pain. That doesn't seem like a guy who's gearing up to come back. And that really fucks up the Warriors bench, for lack of a lighter term. They're playing Jordan Bell as their 6th man. They're starting Kevon Looney, which I don't know if they'll do. I think that they'll start Draymond at the 5 and let Sean Livingston start in sort of the Andre Iguodala role, but we'll just have to see with that. Jordan Bell is a nice player. He's a good energy option, but he provides a lot of good, a lot of bad. I don't know how Looney fits into this series all that much, but if you play Tristan Thompson, you can definitely play Looney. You can also play David West. You can also play JaVale McGee if you have to. You allow the Warriors to get by minutes at the center position and let Draymond Green rest for a little bit, which is the last thing that you would want as the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are going to lose this series. They need to lose it because the Warriors' 4 best players are playing 44 minutes a game. like period. And they're still probably going to lose it in that case, but that gives them more of a chance than if they're able to do a regular rotation. And if you play Tristan Thompson, if you play somebody that isn't going to be a 5-out center, then you are giving the Warriors a chance to actually get into their bench and actually work a normal rotation. And you're losing a big advantage that you have in this series, which is, frankly, the Cavs are a deeper team. They're not a better team, but they're a deeper team.
But are they?
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, listen, like, but they can go. The Warriors had to rely on Nick Young, and I understand that it's hilarious because the Cavs have to rely on J.R. Smith and Jordan Clarkson and Rodney Hood. But like the Warriors bench is taxed. They were playing Quinn Cook in crunch time. Sean Livingston's having to give you 25 minutes regardless if he plays well or not.
Are we sure that Jordan Clarkson's better than Quinn Cook?
No, but he's not a complete defensive. No, I mean, no,
he is.
No.
Quinn's a better defender than Jordan Clarkson, probably.
Quinn is a more sound defender, but Quinn is really small.
Yeah, he is.
This is his only knock. Like he does a lot of really nice stuff on defense. He just gets eaten alive by regular sized NBA players.
Yeah,
physically.
The problem is that when Quinn's out there, he's getting headhunted by LeBron every single time he's out there.
That's what's going to happen, and that fucks up a lot of stuff. I mean, listen, Warriors might be fine with that for a few possessions. Like, honestly, they might be comfortable buying a couple of minutes. I have no idea what the rotations are going to look like. But the Rockets just made it a principle of, nope, your bench is short. And if you want to buy minutes, we're going to make you pay for it. The Cavaliers would be well served to follow the same model the Rockets did, understanding 100% that they are not as good of a team as the Rockets, but the Rockets got pretty damn fucking close to beating the Warriors in this series without Chris Paul. If you make a couple of 3-pointers between the second and fourth quarters, we're talking about a different team. We might be talking about a different NBA Finals. Don't miss 27 in a row. You got a pretty good chance. They still only lost by 9.
Right, but like, who is the PJ Tucker and Trevor Ariza from?
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I mean, and even if you think on the most optimistic levels with some of these guys, like, they don't exist. But LeBron James isn't going to tire out like James Harden does.
No, that's a good point, but I am just very unclear how Cleveland gets stops in this series. They didn't become a good defensive team in this postseason. They're still a bad defensive team. You know what? I'll even go as far as this. I think they have markedly improved. I think that they have gotten...
Are they still bad?
They are not a great defensive team. They are not I don't even know that they're a good defensive team. Right. They have gotten much more sound throughout the course of these playoffs. I think that LeBron playing defense right now actually really helps.
It does. No, that is 100% true.
And Tristan being around really helps because he can actually cover holes. The problem is that, like you said,
the Warriors want to see Tristan Thompson on the court so bad. I'm telling you that right now.
I think I agree with you on that. Like, I think that the Warriors want to see any sort of big man on the floor. I think that they just want to headhunt that guy constantly. Right. Tristan is not Clint Capella. Like, Clint's really good defensively now.
Clint is really good, and Clint was the X factor in that series. I know it's almost cliche because Clint is really good. He does protect the rim at a really good rate. He is mobile enough to where he doesn't look like a fish out of water when he's on the perimeter. Clearly, because that's the entire offense. Like, Clint Capella could be in there, and you're still playing a perimeter game. But the problem the Rockets had was when Clint Capella was on the court, and they didn't run the pick and roll fast enough because it was pick and get the hell out of the way. Instead of, pick and roll. When Clint was just standing under the hoop, Draymond Green was free to do whatever the hell he wanted. And the Warriors just directed traffic to the paint so that Draymond Green could enter the fray. You would have to make a hyper-elite pass, which of course LeBron James can do, and James Harden in many ways can do. You would have to make a hyper-elite pass to find the big man in that situation. And for the Rockets, that was just getting the ball near the rim. And they still weren't able to do it all that often because Draymond Green was able to create so much chaos because the play just got directed to him because he was already in the lane. You have to essentially run your offense in a way so that Draymond Green is not not part of the play, even though he'll become part of the play. Make it as difficult as possible for him to become part of the play if you're isolating. And having Tristan Thompson on the court is just the clearest way possible, in my opinion. I mean, even Larry Nance can space it a little bit better and take Draymond out of it a little bit more. Having Draymond Green on the court,
they won't do that, though.
They won't do that because it's not. That's definitely not a good option, because at least Tristan provides something of value. Like, forcing Draymond Green to guard Kevin Love and having Kevin Love parked in the corner is their best strategy. Having Tristan Thompson underneath the hoop thinking, we can get – if you run the pick and roll fast, you're going to get some points off of that, no doubt. The pick and lob. Draymond's going to mess up a lot of that, though, and you're not really going to have a second option off of that play. And if you just have, pick, isolate, and then have Tristan underneath the hoop, you have essentially worked your way into a double team, because the Warriors have figured that out. It took a while, but they figured it out.
Yeah. I'm dead serious when I ask this question.
Yeah.
Based off of the way that Gerald Green played defense in that series, which was not terrible.
He was pretty good. I liked a lot of what Gerald Green did in that series.
Yeah, he was actually pretty active defensively.
Yeah.
Is Gerald Green a better wing defender than anyone on the Cavs not named LeBron James? Gerald Green was their fourth best wing defender, perimeter defender kind of guy, PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza. They stopped playing Mbah Moute. Because
listen, Luke's injury was huge in that series, and it's not going to get mentioned, but he's such a good player, and his shoulder is so messed up that he couldn't do layups. I mean, he couldn't shoot.
Yeah, he was a legit zero out there offensively.
He was negative because you couldn't even give him the ball, because the Warriors knew that the Warriors were begging him to do anything with the ball. He was completely lost. I mean, he provided some value on defense even then, but it was really kind of sad to watch. A lot of what the Rockets did in that series was kind of sad to watch, because it's kind of just intrinsically sad to watch a exhausted team try to win against the Warriors. It's almost tragic. And then with all of those injuries, it's like, man, we didn't get that epic series that I think we expected, even though it won 7. I think your question needs to be answered with a no. I don't think that there's a better. I think that if Gerald Green was on the Cavaliers, they would stand a better shot.
That's where we're at.
Now, I will say this about the Rockets. The Rockets, and this is another thing.
Gerald Green was not great in that series either. He was just adequate and useful.
Yeah, for his role. For his role of guy comes off the bench, played super physical. He did the game plan, and this is where the Rockets deserve a lot of credit. They after they lost by 41 in Game 3, they came out and just decided, we're going to just foul the shit out of these guys on every play, and we're going to be so physical, and basically dare the refs to call a foul on every play. They went full Seahawks, and credit to them, they were super physical, and it forced the Warriors. It messed the Warriors up, just to be flat out. They do not handle physicality well. They are not a heavily built team outside of Draymond Green, if we're being honest. And Clay is strong as hell, but when Clay and Draymond are your two strongest guys, not ideal. And they're so smart. I mean, they were so efficient on switching. They were smarter than the Warriors defensively in that series. The Cavs are not a smart defensive team at all. In that Celtics series, they went from switching everything to not switching anything, which interested to see how that develops in Game 1. If they want to play straight up matchup basketball, which they might have to do just because Kevin Durant's on the court, not great. And the transition shit, all that stuff, they don't exactly, when they miss, it always seems to turn into a transition opportunity the other way. They're not efficient. There's nothing I can hang my hat on in this series. And the 3 things that I thought, okay, well, this might make things interesting, or a little bit more interesting than a 4-game sweep and 4 straight blowouts, is Iguodala's injury. And so now if the game slows down and it's tight, you don't have your best defender in what is typically a straight up matchup. That's big, and foul trouble can be an issue. The fact that the Cavaliers are capable, much more capable now of switching everything than they were a couple of months ago, and that's a positive. Even if you're just switching at 4 positions and locking in LeBron on Durant and kind of playing a quasi box and 1. And 3, the Warriors just don't give a shit most of the time and are sort of waiting to play half of a good quarter to win. And, maybe that comes back to bite them in the ass now. Maybe they feel invincible after squeaking by these Rockets and getting really tested. And now they're just going to go out and put out a perfunctory effort in game 1, lose it, and then the series is kind of on because certainly LeBron can steal another game. And if he steals 2 in the span of the first 3 or 4, there's plenty of reasons to think that things could get dicey. So those are the only 3 things. I mean, that's it. There's no matchup thing that they need to highlight. There's nothing like that. It feels very much like a first round series. And that's not ideal.
No, it doesn't. 4 or 5 for you?
I do Warriors. 5. Yeah, I'm doing 5. I think that, and I think it might be Warriors lose the first one and then win the next 4. I think it seems rather unlikely, but that's kind of the vibe I get. I'll have to see. We're about to go all and talk to them and kind of pick their minds. I feel like I've been able to get at least a slight barometer on sort of where this team's head's at and if they're going to be focused or not. If they are, if they're super, we'll have to see. It doesn't really matter. And there's so many tactical things that can develop in the first couple of minutes of the first quarter that could make things interesting. But right now, again, I don't see anything other than LeBron scoring 60 points in a game and getting a great shooting night from everybody else to make me think that the Warriors aren't going to win this series in a very easy fashion. Yeah,
I'm going with Warriors in 5. They win the first 3 games, lose 4, and then get the home court revenue from game 5.
That's a great bet. That is a great bet. You think back on last year's finals. I mean, that the Cavs team that lost in 5 games in last year's finals is markedly better than this one. Markedly. Having Kyrie Irving, big help. Knowing Kevin Love's status, big help. And just better players around them. And we haven't even mentioned Kyle Korver. Like, Kyle Korver had a nice series against the Celtics. He's going to get eaten alive defensively.
Yeah, if you're worried about like having to have Shimi Ojale on the floor to play Kyle Korver, if you're Ty Lue, like, what happens against the Warriors?
I think the Warriors are going to get deep into their bench, and maybe that loses them game 3. I also think that the Cavs will just knock down a shit ton of 3-pointers off of basic penetration dish basketball through LeBron. But and maybe there'll be a bunch of think pieces after game 3 because game 3 was, I believe, or I guess it was game 4 last year where they just made a ton of 3-pointers. But shit, man, I don't like feeling so confident in something. It's uneasy, right?
And a little bit.
Like, I thought that the Warriors would beat the Rockets in 5 in the last round. And frankly, I think that if Iguodala doesn't get injured, that probably happens, 5 or 6, right? Not because Iguodala is this huge thing, but games 4 and 5 of that series were a couple of possessions, and you can look back and just go, if Iguodala was there, this doesn't happen on 3 or 4 different possessions, and that's the difference in the game. That's a tight margin between 2 excellent teams, and you can say the same thing in reverse, like, Chris Paul doesn't get injured, the Rockets win. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it's certainly a plausible statement. There's nothing like that. I mean, there's literally nothing like that. We're trying to find ways to say how the Cavs can steal one game. Now we're dealing with, acts of God as the only way that the Cavaliers can win 4 against this Warriors team. And kind of depressing, but at the same time, the Spidey sense a little bit goes off where it's like, what are we missing? And I feel even more confident before talking to you than or after talking to you than before, which isn't great. I don't know if you can you give me one thing, just one thing from your perspective that makes you think that the Cavs can take more than 2 games off of these Warriors?
LeBron James. Like,
I mean, but like how?
That's the one thing.
Like, that's like a nice catch-all, but like, and I get it, but like, how can LeBron do it single-handedly, effectively?
I would say that he takes significant advantage of when Kevon Looney and Jordan Bell are on the floor. Gets a lot of switch scenarios with those two guys and with Sean Livingston. Yeah, like, it's hard. It's hard.
He's going to have to play 48 minutes in every single game.
Oh, no question. He has to play 48 minutes. Like, LeBron can't leave the floor. The minutes where he's not on the floor are going to be a major problem. Major problem.
Yeah. I mean, last year's 5-gamer was at least like slightly interesting at junctures. Like, there were moments. I don't even know if we're going to get that. We might get one game that's interesting in this series. Might. And I'll just give that to the Cavs right now, just out of deference to the greatness of LeBron James. But they might not even win that game that's interesting.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't see it.
What would the Rockets have done? Let's say Chris Paul can't play. How do you think this series goes if the Rockets are in it?
Chris Paul can't play? I think they win in 6.
If they can't play, they win in 6, and if he can play, they win in 4 or 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about free agency soon.
Yeah, we'll be talking free agency, we'll be talking draft, and we'll be talking about burner accounts. Dieter, I hope to God that your burner account situation is on point. I don't want to hear any reports out of whatever rival paper is up there with the Merc that you have been creating terrible content online somewhere.
I create terrible content online every day, sir. I do it behind my own name, though. Yeah, no, the San Francisco Chronicle and the Athletic won't be digging up any of my. I do have a political burner account. I do.
Here for it.
Like, because again, it's one of those things, and we've had this conversation. Like, there's a certain, I don't know. Like, I'm very much myself on my Twitter account. I'm trying to have more of a disconnect between my personal Twitter account and my personality. Like, how about I live my own life and just group text people? But if anyone finds, and it's probably very easy to find and easy to verify, my political burner account, you are going to be in no way shocked by what I say, because it's pretty much all the political stuff that I've said everywhere else. But I got to bounce off.
What can you do?
Yeah.
All right, man. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe over on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, Android, every other app, Pocket Casts, whatever you got, we're up there now. Go subscribe to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Until next time, though, we'll talk soon. Bye.